with who you with, Kirk, though. I'm out. I'm out. I'm out. I'm out. Welcome to Speak on it with who you with, Kirk, though. I'm out. I'm out. I'm out. Who you with, Kirk? I'm out. Welcome to Speak on it with who you with, Kirk, though. Welcome to Speak on it with who you with, Kirk, though. I'm out. I'm out. I'm out. I'm out. Welcome to Speak on it with who you with, Kirk, though. Welcome to Speak on it with who you with, Kirk, though. I'm welcome. I'm welcome. I'm welcome. I'm welcome to Speak on it with who you with, Kirk, though. Welcome to Speak on it with who you with, Kirk, though. I'm welcome. I'm welcome. I'm welcome. I'm welcome to Speak on it who you with, Kirk, though. Welcome to Speak on it with who you with, Kirk, though. I'm welcome. I'm welcome. I'm welcome. I'm welcome to Speak on it. Welcome to Speak on it. I'm welcome to Speak on it. Welcome to Speak on it. I'm welcome to Speak on it. Welcome to Speak on it. I'm welcome to Speak. Welcome to Speak. Welcome to Speak. I'm 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 who you with, Kirk, dog. Welcome to Speak on it with who you with, Kirk, dog. I'm who you with, Kirk, dog. Happy Tuesday to everyone. Hopefully y'all having a great day. Yeah, we got a little rain shower today in Dallas again. I'm like, man, this rain ain't playing at all. But it's good that it's kind of cool here. But I want to welcome y'all to the show. Everyone listening on Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, Twitch, Twitter. D Live is always in the house, kicking it strong. You can live chat with us in the chat room. You can be a part of the show just by chatting. What if it's a subject that we're talking about, or if it's something that you want to talk about? Excuse me. So today, another history was made with Jeff Bezos going up into space. We'll hit on that a little bit. And Marjorie Greene, yeah, we'll talk about her a little bit. And Greg Abbott, Greg, he, now, I don't know. I've been looking and paying attention to the news, but I haven't heard him say nothing about the numbers going up here in Texas. So do you feel that he should be talking about it? Whenever he come on the TV, he's only talking about the Democrats that went to Washington and trying to get these slavery bills passed, which is wrong. So we're going to hit on that a little bit tonight. And also, we're also going to have a couple other stories that we'll hit on also. So I hope you have your seatbelt. Hold on, because we about to get it going, and it's going to be strong. So hold on real quick. We're also going to trying to make sure. Have a couple other stories. I don't know why my phone don't want to act right. But if you are on my personal Facebook page, please take the time to go over to Speak on it with who you with, Kirk, though. For when you start chatting with us live in the chat room, we can always display your message. So this morning, I guess about a little bit after 9 Eastern this morning, Jeff Bezos blasted off into space on his rocket company first flight, with people on board, becoming the second billionaire in just over a week to ride his own spacecraft. The Amazon founder was accompanied by a hand-picked group, his brother, an 18-year-old from the Netherlands, and an 82-year-old aviation pioneer from Texas, the youngest and the oldest to ever fly into space. Once he made it there to space, he said it's the best day ever. Bezos said when the capsule touched down on
on the desert floor in remote West Texas after the 10-minute flight. Named after American first astronaut, Blue Origin, New Shepard rocket soared on the 52nd anniversary of the Apollo 11 moon landing, a date chosen by Bezos for its historic uh, significant and held fast to it, even as Virgin Galactic Richard Branson pushed up his own flight from the New Mexico and beat him to space by 9 days. The two private companies chasing space tours dollars um, through have drawn criticism for catering to the rich, while so many are struggling in the pandemic. During Tuesday flight, Blue Origin capsule reached an altitude of about 66 miles, more than 10 miles higher than Branson's July 11 ride. The 60-foot booster accelerated to Mach 3 and 3 times the speed of sound to get the capsule high enough before separating and landing upright. So I don't know if y'all actually was able to see the video, which I know Twitter been on fire about the video, the way that the capsule looked, but it was a sight to see. But they could do whatever they want to do with their money. But I know personally from visiting the state of Washington, there's a major homeless issue there. I'm just wondering if Jeff is not putting money into that, which is his choice if he decides to or not. But yeah, you'll go down in history as the first, as a billionaire taking a spaceship up to space. But is that what you really want to be known for? Maybe that's why the Bible say it'll be hard for a rich man to get in heaven, however it goes. But because the thing is, you're capable of doing a lot of things. I don't know what all you're doing, but I know Twitter did take a heed to it, and they talked about his wife and said, hey, she got a divorce, but she's giving money to a lot of business. So so that's interesting. Welcome to the show, Radio Chaos. Hopefully you're doing good today. Jeff should have kept on the ground to Mars. And yep. I think eventually he will go to Mars, but it's one of those situations where we just have to sit back and wait, because even the broadcast I was looking at, they was like, this is going to open up a lot of doors to try to see who can get to Mars first. So I'm sure they have something in plan and probably already working on it, but we just have to wait and see. But a lot of people also made comments about the way that his space shuttle look, and they went in on him. Some of the messages that came across, I was like, oh Lord. So they went in on the way that the the space shuttle look, and what it resembles, what it looked like to people, and they like, all right, he could have did something a little bit better, but hey, I don't know. Maybe that was, I don't know. I don't know, radio. Did you see the space shuttle? Did you see how it looked and everything? Um, but that Twitter was on fire this morning because of that. So um, that was uh, kind of crazy, awkward, and people would laugh and real serious about it because um, it was pretty crazy. Uh, I'm sorry, I'm reading something somebody put on Twitter, but radio said, I know people who have worked at Amazon and heard stories of people being let go that first day because they were too slow at processing orders. I don't, I never worked there, never had a desire to work there. So um, a lot of companies are like that. Some companies, when it come down to processing, you have a certain amount you need to process in the time that you're there. And the thing is, they don't look at the point that, hey, it's your first day. You're not going to come in knowing exactly how they process work. If it's your first day, you won't know. But billionaires and their toys. um, so it was interesting to see it, but I'm like, hey, um, and as for I hate I hate that people lose their job on the first day because it can mess up their self-esteem. You're in there working hard, practice. You're gonna get better over time. If you're in there processing orders, and I know Amazon have a lot of orders that comes out in a day's time, but you shouldn't hold it against them. Sooner or later, they will catch up. At least give them a week or two before you just get rid of them. They have clocks on the computer to count down how long you have to do each step of their job. Wow. Kind of like a sweatshop. I know they pay pretty decent from what I've been told, but you're at a high demand like that, which is kind of that can put a lot of stress on people. There's a lot of companies out like that. What is that company where um, um, the employees are boycotting for the simple fact that they have they work for so many days with no off day. I think the last couple of months with no off day, 12 hours days, and the company like, hey, you got to work. You have to work with no off days. Eventually, that fatigue gonna sit in, and people gonna start getting hurt. One mistake, or whatever product they putting out is gonna end up being some bad products because people cannot stay focused because they tired. But some companies don't care. It's about the bottom line. As long as they getting their product moved, that's all they care about. That's just like fast food. Back in the days, they started uh, with a timer in the drive-through, and they want you to have the cars in and out by a certain length of time. But unfortunately, sometimes it takes longer, not unless the food is sitting up under a heat lamp. And if it is, I wouldn't really want it. So yeah, it takes longer. Radio said when it comes to production, you are never fast enough. They always want more. Exactly. Um, they always want more and they don't care. Um, I itching. I guess it's good luck. I'm trying to find the name of that company that they are picketing right now. Trying to see, but it was some company that these employees are so upset because they're not getting a day off, and they say it's mandatory to work. And I kind of think it is a auto company, but don't quote me on that. But the thing is, you need people that's going to be focused on what they're doing and not just doing anything. Because eventually, you're going to start having a lot of recalls on the product that they're putting out, and our class action lawsuits start happening. Don't get me wrong, some companies do treat their employees well and see the value in it in the long term. I know a bunch of them that don't treat you all that good. Yeah, some of them, they don't treat you that good. And then they blame you for the reason why they treat you that way. That's kind of like, and I forgot about the story, and I'm going to talk about it real quick. A young lady, that okay. So a worker that worked for Walmart, and I was going to talk about it yesterday and forgot about it, because some companies that actually does this, they don't care. They only want numbers. That's all they want. So apparently, this has been going on for a couple of years, and this young lady, Marlo Smith, she started working as a sales associate at a Walmart in Wisconsin in 1999, folding towels, cleaning aisles, processing return, and greeting customer, her lawyer said. Over the next 15 years, she received several pay raises and um, also a positive performance review. One manager wrote that she was great with customer and a very hard worker. Certain things happen, but this young lady has and she's doing all of this with Down syndrome. Now I'm gonna fast forward a little bit. She worked the same schedule. Used to work from, I believe it's from 1 to 4 p.m. And Walmart changed her schedule. When they changed her schedule, they made it from 1 to 5:30. Now, a person with Down syndrome, they used to a routine. Um, they like a routine, and if not, they get nervous about it because they're used to doing the same thing over and over again. Kind of found out this young lady rode the bus. She worked there for 15 years. Walmart refused to accommodate her with her schedule, even though they say they flexible with the schedule. But Walmart came out with a new system to tell what time they're busy, and that's how they schedule folks. And long story short, this young lady actually just won a lawsuit, um, and in her termination paper, I'm going around it. So in her termination paper, they said she can apply for a rehire, and she done that in 2016. Um, yeah, after she got fired, she applied again, tried to come back, but Walmart said nope, they did not rehire her. So because of that, the young lady was scared she was going to miss her bus, she was going to miss dinner, and Walmart just basically said nope, terminated her services, refused to rehire her, even though they said on the termination paper that she can apply for rehire. So the jury, after a 4-day trial, the jury, after like 2 or 3 hours, they awarded her $125 million for several reasons. For the Disability Act was one reason, and then another $300, 300,000 for the termination. Now, I wasn't aware of this, but with companies with more than, and I don't know if it's just that state or if that's all states, but they're saying that companies that have more than a certain amount of employees, trying to make sure I get the right number. I want to say over 500 employees or something. Their max payout is only $300,000. That's all that Walmart is going to have to pay her. $300,000. She went through EEOC, and yeah, it's in any company with more than 500 workers, they're capped at a $300,000 cap that they will have to pay out. So her reward went from 125 to 300,000, and Walmart is off the hook, which is crazy. What's going on, Marcellus? It's the People Show. Thank you for always tuning in. Radio said on the cruise ship, the bar serves salary was $50 a month from the company, and the rest was tips. I don't think I understand why they do it, but because I guess with tips, everybody not going to be honest to report the tips. You can say you've been there all day and made $10, but you leaving with $300 or $400. And so it's kind of, that's pretty low, $50. But what if people don't tip? What if they don't tip the servers and the bartenders? Because I know pre-pandemic, I used to go to a local watering hole. My partner and I would go up there, and our bartender knew us, and she like, hey, made some good drinks. So we always would go up there and bring our wives up there if they come out with us, and we sit up there and have a nice drink. Matter of fact, some Hennessy margarita. So she made the best one I ever tasted. So we always make sure we take care of our servers and our bartender. For the simple fact, we know they don't make that much. And unfortunately, with our bartender, we became very close. And she would, if I'm there on payday, she'd be upset, be like, look, I didn't get paid nothing this week. And he showed me her check stub. Her check might be less than $20 for the week because she made so much in tip. She reported so much in tip. Her um, her paycheck will be less than $20. Radio said you can only make tips on alcohol, soft drink, and coffee. Don't have that. Don't have the 15% added on every passenger was to pay the addition of 15% on all alcohol. So, um, okay. I think when it come down to alcohol here, um, alcohol here. They have a alcohol tax they implemented several years back. So they always add a certain amount to your bill to cover alcohol. Um, so that's, but on a cruise ship, I know they would automatic add a tip onto, I don't know if that's just for housekeeping, but they would add a tip onto your room. I always like to leave it in cash because at that point, and it depends on if I um, definitely receive great service. If I didn't receive great service, I'm like, nope. But on a cruise ship, I only been on one cruise, and we was going on one last year, but then the pandemic hit, so that blocked that out. But I always try to make sure I take care of my servers. Um, try to make sure I take care of them. Uh, Marcella said my friend car was found in a ditch with the window busted and radio stolen, and her seats were ripped up. She's still pressing charges. That was going to be my next question. Is she going to press charges? Because that's a low down, dirty sucker. Um, he must have been listening to, uh, I forgot the young lady name, and I like her music. Uh, Bust my windows out, where she bust the windows out in the car. Yeah, I would definitely press charges, and I hope she called them and reported it stolen and had those charges added onto it. Engine is knocking as well. Man, that's kind of crazy. And hopefully the car is well, if she reported stolen, if she had reported it stolen, her insurance should cover it. 9 times out of 10, they're gonna total it. But at least she don't have to pay out of pocket to try to get it fixed. But she have to file those charges for him stealing the vehicle and sticking to it. So what Marcellus is talking about last night, he mentioned about a friend, boyfriend had stole her car, and it been found in a ditch, windows busted out, radio stolen, and her seats ripped out. And she is pressing charges, which she should, and get a protected order against them also. That's how you do that. Radio said average wage for entry-level kitchen staff on a cruise ship, $700 a month, no tip. Well, sometimes the kitchen are the ones that get left out on a lot of stuff. Even though they the ones that doing all the hard work, occasionally you will find a server to kind of tip the kitchen staff. But that kitchen staff key to make you or break you. Because if you come in there and your food don't taste good, you won't get no tip. But if it tastes good, you'll get a tip. Excuse me. Yeah, the kitchen staff get looked over quite a bit, which is really crazy. So Marcellus, I know you just came on. We talked about the Jeff Bezos um, um, rocket launch today. Were you able to catch that, or what is your opinion about it? Oh, third world country workers. So that's $700 a month. They probably living like kings and queens, and they're on top of the world. And I've been told when you do cruise ships and everything, all that money is tax free. So with it being tax free, I guess in a sense it's not bad. You just stacking up the money. Now, do they pay them once a month or do they pay them when they come back from the cruise? How did that work? Or is it a contract, or because I know you said you have contracts with people and you had to pay them and uh, had to pay them for playing in the band and everything, and you had to have a contract with them. Um, uh, so uh, came out last night, early this morning. Twitter suspended Marjorie Taylor Greene, I think, for 18 hours or something. So it should be lifted up. Um, should be lifted up. And Georgia, y'all need to step up. Y'all need to make sure y'all vote her out. This woman is really like a mad dog. She's going everywhere. Um, but she was banned, temporarily suspended on Twitter for sending out misleading information about COVID. About COVID. Because here it is, as our numbers continue to rise, she want to talk about COVID and give out misleading information instead of telling the truth about it. Now, I don't know if y'all seen the video that's been circling around. It came out, I guess, over the weekend. I seen it a couple of days ago. Major Greene and Marjorie Greene, and I want to say it's the Senate from Florida or something. They was out on the beach or something, and some guy came up, excited, and was pretending like he was interviewing her, and he looked at her and called her something, and they both cheering him on, not paying attention to what the guy's saying, and looked at the guy and said, "Man, they thinking you're a pedophile. I don't think you're a pedophile. Are you a pedophile?" And just kept going on. And then finally they realized what he was saying. And security came and hauled him away, got him away from him, because he was so close up on, he had his arms around both of them. So they thinking this is one of their supporters. He had on like a American flag tank top and shorts, and they just thinking, oh, he's for us. He's a patriot. But the way he did that video, and the thing is, the video itself, um, um, the video itself actually At the time, I think it was like 2.4 million views on Twitter. And they said she's hot. Uh, um, Saying that she's hot about it, mad because it went viral. But the thing is, nobody like you. That's why they're gonna vote you out. Just like Greg Abbott, you're about to lose your job. You're about to lose your job. Radio answered my question, but they would have to pay airfare uniforms, so they start the job usually 1,500 in the hole. They have to pay back. Oh wow, that don't add up good. So 700 a month, and how long are they normally cruising for? I guess 700 a month. Um, that's not real good money. That's only $8,400 a year, and that's not good at all. Um, Radio said FICA had an aggressive change at a Senate hearing, calling Senator Paul a flat-out liar. I guess he has finally had enough with this nonsense. I don't blame him because he have a lot of patience. Because I would have told them a long time ago where they could go with it. I would have said something when Trump decided to give the updates instead of allowing me to do my job. So, um, so that's just me. I don't have time for that foolishness. And looking at, um, I'm still kind of going around through Twitter trying to see if um, Greg Abbott said anything about the way the numbers are going up, and of course he haven't. Then also, I do see Ken, the alleged gangster Patson, did an interview this morning talking about I don't know what the end game is because they want to live in Texas. Eventually, they're going to have to vote. But he's talking about the fact the Democrats that went to Washington that end up testing positive for COVID-19. Now, here's the key. They putting the blame on everyone else except blaming themselves for rushing and opening everything back up. Let's talk about that. Now, the thing is with Greg Abbott, he's more concerned about this wall instead of keeping us safe. Let's start with the Greene said that, and I should have pulled the story out. Oh, after Cassie Warner's energy transfer partner made billions from deadly Texas. So these folks capitalize when people losing their lives over something that never should happen. So don't lose focus on what Greg Abbott is doing or trying to do, because you have to look at it at this. Now, I don't know if this is, let me glance over this because I got to check my history. And if it's your first time listening to the show, sometimes we may run across a story that we haven't had a chance to research it, but we will research it real quick just to make sure. Um, Let me do it like this, because I'm seeing something and I don't know if it's true or not. Uh, da, da, da. So it looked like, yeah, I guess this been going on since I see as far back as 2019. Um, so I guess one of the energy tycoon, Kelsey Warner, gave Greg Abbott $1 million. He was rewarded with a huge campaign contribution from the grid collapse, biggest profiteer, Kelsey Warner, given $1 million for his campaign. I've said all along, Texas politicians, the ones that decide if we can or can't get casinos, have their hands in the cookie jar. Have their hands in the cookie jar. For the simple fact, you have Oklahoma that has casinos. You have Louisiana that has casinos. Texas have one casino, which is down in Eagle Pass, Texas, the only casino in Texas, the only legal casino in Texas. We also had, I talked about it on the show, that they was trying to allow the citizen of Texas to vote if we was going to bring casinos to Texas, and they didn't make the ballots. It was shut down. So somebody is keeping casinos out of Texas. Now, at one point, they was talking about legalizing poker rooms here in Texas, because poker is very big in Texas. But the thing is, everybody don't play poker. Some people like the penny slots. I don't have a patience for it, but some people like them. Some people like blackjack. Why not bring casinos to Texas? It will bring more money. People will have to stop spending money going to Louisiana and Oklahoma. Only thing I could think of, somebody getting a kickback to keep them out. That's another reason why we need to get rid of Greg Abbott. Besides his foolish laws and trying to do voter suppression, I personally have not heard him say anything about the COVID-19 numbers going back up. Now, tomorrow he may say something, because I know he watched the show. I follow him on Twitter. He probably had one of his lookouts paying attention to the show, and that's okay. It's okay. But he probably going to address it tomorrow. But just because he addressed it does not mean he's going to do anything about it. He would not admit that he was wrong for rushing to open everything up. Here it is. Our schools are trying to figure out. The doctor is recommending that kids wear masks in school. Greg Abbott, a couple of months ago, signed the law saying the kids didn't have to wear masks. You have to address these things. You need to come out just like you came out when you signed those bills. You need to come out and correct what you did. You need to correct it. Um, Radio said, I heard a Trump supporter who lived close to the border in Texas even admitted a wall wouldn't make that much of a difference in people illegally crossing the border. It won't. It won't. If you're not going to have it 100 feet down in the ground and 100 feet up, and that may not even be enough, for the simple fact that if people want to come, they're going to come by any means necessary. Like I said, down in Arizona, when I drove trucks, made a wrong turn, went past the truck stop. I said, "Oh, I'll go down here and make a U-turn." I was in Mexico, just like that, in Mexico. Now, here's the key: it's going to cost more, though. Borders like that, it's going to be hard to spend all that money to have each one of those towns on the way have them protected. It was some people walking from Mexico coming up to the truck stop to buy things and going right back across. So, yeah, it's not going to make a difference. But what Greg Abbott is pushing this for, he's pushing it because he wants to get reelected. That's all it is. He wants to get reelected. Because because they will have Trump again. Yeah, Trump was caught for having illegal workers working at his hotels. And a lot of other politicians might get caught too. For the simple fact, as quiet as it kept, a lot of people will hire an illegal worker because they cannot demand benefits. They cannot demand equal pay. So they will work for little or nothing. That's why. Now they will go after them. Now, don't get me wrong. Several years back, it was a meat company, a plant. Uh, I want to say it was here in Texas or somewhere. It'd been several plants across the U.S. where they go in there and raid the plants. It was up in Plano. I believe it was Plano. They went up there and raid that warehouse. They had buses come up and put the people on the buses. That was illegal. But that warehouse did not stop producing product. They continued to work for the ones that were legal. Now, you telling me somebody didn't realize it was illegal working there? Yeah, they knew. They definitely knew. That's why Marcella said they need to stop selling this dream here in America. They are throwing rocks and hiding their hands. Exactly. Because they say America's is freedom, free for all. Or no, you come here and get trapped. Then you be trying to get up out of here. I'm like, hey, you come here, allow them to work, pay them the fair wage, make sure it's done right, have them pay their taxes too, but do it the right way. do it the right way. But people will try to save a dollar any way they can. That's just like a lot of these clothing companies and shoe companies. They go over there to different countries and they make the shoes for what? Lit up nothing. Penny folks, what? Pennies a day to make some name brand shoes where they selling them for $200 or $300 in America, but it only costing him maybe a couple of $100 a day to get several shoes made. And then if you add the shipping on it, they ship so much to America, they could purchase a whole ship and still make enough money off of it because of the profit. Radio said I had bar service in my lounge on a cruise ship who were school teachers and lawyers back in Mexico. They made more money on the ship than they did back at home. I believe it. I've been told that going on a ship, working on a ship, especially out of the U.S., if you work on a ship, it's tax-free money, and it's nothing they can. You go out there and make it, you come back, you set. Now I don't know what type of money they're gonna pay. I know you said for kitchen help it's like $700 a month, but do that include room? I mean, well, of course, they got to include your rooms, but do that include your meals and all of that, or is that separate? Marcella said, for example, the nearest iPhone is probably $100 in China, but here it's $1,000 or more. The question isn't why charge so much. The question is, where is this money? Where is the money going? Exactly. You know, several years back, I ran across. I used to ran across these. I used to run a car service back in the days. So, and I would always go pick up these folks. And one guy got in there. I'm talking about it was some older guys. Some was looking like they're about 70, 80 years old. All of these folks were foreigners. And here's the key. One guy got in the car that morning. He wanted to talk. And I think he told a little bit too much. But it was a cell phone company, a major cell phone company, that they was making the cell phones here. But the guy told me, he said, yeah, I picked up I think it was three guys. And one of them wanted to talk. He said, yeah. I guess it was my second time getting them in. They started talking. They was like, hey, yeah, this place, you only gonna see Indians and Africans in here. That's it. No one else. They would not hire no one else. They only gonna see Indians and African. That's it. Said we make cell phones. We make cell phones. They pay us good money. Now, he said it was good money, but I think they was getting paid like $8 or something an hour. And this is in Texas. $8 an hour, and he was talking about his good money making cell phone. But also, these three guys probably was from the age of 65 to 80 between the three guys. And they was like, this is the best job I ever had. So the thing is, they making these cell phones, then paying cheap labor to get them made, and turn around, you sell them for $1,000. If that ain't a pimp, I'll pay for it, because that's pimping. That's straight up pimping. That's why I try to hold on to my phone as long as I can, for the simple fact, if it's calling out, it still work great. If it's able to do everything I need to do, it still work great. But I might keep my phone for at least 6 or 7 years before I trade it in, or probably even longer than that. But for them to, the guys was talking about it, and for them to be um, saying that the only people they was hiring was Indians and African guys, not African American. Don't get it twisted. From the country African, and said that's all they was hiring. That was it. They would not hire nobody else in that plant, and that was over in was it Irvin? Uh, yeah, I guess it is Irvin, over in that area. So I'm like, hey, okay. The radio said they would share 4 people to a cabin and work days where minimum 12 hours a day, sometime longer, for 8 months straight, with not a lot of time off. Oh wow. Um, that's a lot. Now, are they getting paid per hour? No, because you said they get about $700 a month. So what you agree with seem like they should have a certain amount of hours you need to work per day, per week, to guarantee that money. No, excuse me. Um, that's that's kind of hard. Marcella said, I look at it like this. Anytime the government offer you something that used to keep away from the public, they have already gained something greater. Yeah, yeah. I would yeah. I'm assuming you talking about uh, I've been talking so much. I guess you're talking about this cell phone, because at one point it was only the government that had them, government and rich folks. But now anybody can get a cell phone. Um, okay. Radio said all American cruise ships are not registered in the U.S. They are registered in third world countries. That's how they get away with it. Uh, that's exactly how they get away with it, because and unfortunately some companies do that. They'll come here, but they'll pay whatever fees they need to pay. They'll do all of that. But when it's all said and done, how much money are they making? I would assume, not sure how many rooms are on the ship, but it's a lot that goes with it. Just say if it's 300 rooms. I know it's more than that. I think it's up in the thousands, but I don't know for sure. Um, So it's way more than that. So just imagine if they end up if each person paid an average 800 or so for a cruise. I know some cruises are higher, just 800 to $1,000 or a little bit more, depends on where you're going, how long you're going. But on the average, 800 per person, and you're talking about buku of money. They may then they charge you for everything. Uh, some cruise line charge you for internet. Some cruise line charge you um, for drinks on the ship. Matter of fact, I think when we went on the ship, they said you could bring alcohol and water, but I think as for soda, you can bring your own soda. Don't quote me on that, but for some reason, I think that's what they told me at the time. You can bring your own soda, but they would allow you to bring alcohol and water. Or maybe you could bring soda, but you only could bring a certain amount. That was anything you brought. You can stack up. You can only bring a certain amount. So, um, Marcella said that's with anything, cell phones, cars, for example. We couldn't buy Mercedes and BMW back in the days. The rich had those. Now we getting, hold on. Now we getting them like they going out of style. Yep. But that maintenance on it, that maintenance on it, that's what people don't consider when they purchase those type of cars. Um, that maintenance ain't no joke. Because you can get a nice car, like a Lexus or something, but when you go and get an oil change, it's probably going to cost you anywhere from um, 300 on up, and it get expensive. I'm like, whoa. So, as far as I'm concerned, this car should be brand new. As much money you putting into it. Yeah, I'm like, hey, but each his own. If you can afford it, great, go for it. Um, Radio said people want cheap stuff. They just don't think about where it comes from. True. Talking about like alcohol and stuff, or the cell phones. Marcella said that's why I have a Kia. Hey, I feel you. I feel you. Uh, um, I almost said what I drove, but I'm not gonna say it. I remember when I got ready to say it, some said don't say that, because I know a certain person asked me what type of vehicle I drove, and I refused to tell him because it ain't none of his business. So, but yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right. You had just got the car not too long ago, right? Um, yeah, so that shoot, congratulations, 2021. My truck is my vehicle is what is it, 11 years old? Right, great. Radio said clothes, electronic, you name it. I thought he was finna do Shirley Caesar song. It got real greens, beans. you name it. Um, yeah, but I'm like this. I've learned over the years. Um, cheap is not always great. And reason why, you could get something cheap, but you're gonna um, end up spending more money for that cheap item in the long run, because it's not gonna last long. You're gonna end up having to end up getting rid of it or replacing it shortly after. Um, so as for me, hold on, I overfilled my cup. I know I'm sounding so ghetto. Uh, you gotta end up replacing it, and you gotta end up spending more money on whatever you purchase cheap. So I've learned over the years, cheap is not always good. Courtesy of my wife. Yes, my wife, like, you might well go and spend the money to get it done right in the first place, because if not, it's going to cost more money in the long run. Marcella said he's looking for a truck, though. Uh, trucks are good. Yeah, trucks are good. I like them. I like them. Depends on what kind it is. Um, hey, radio, don't trip about the Pacer. I used to have one back in the days. In the early 90s, I drove one with the big back window. And don't you know somebody had the nerve to break in my damn Pacer? I said, well, damn. Um, got up one morning, my little side window was broke. I'm like, who broke in my window? Broke in my Pacer. Yeah, I'm like, really? Um, I didn't like that at all. I was like, nah. Um, that kind of hurt my feelings. Should have hurt them, because only thing they got out of it was some old cheap speakers I was getting ready to put in there. Damn, I'm sounding ghetto as hell. Yeah, I'm about to put some speakers in my Pacer, and they went in there and stole it. Um, Shoot, that's good. I like the older cars, because the older cars, if they're taken care of, or if you have to get them refurbished, they can run a while. I personally, if I had the money, I would like to get a 76 or a 77 Cutlass and get it restored. Get it restored. And I would use it as a show car. I wouldn't drive it everywhere. I keep it in the garage, waxed down and covered up. But I would love to get me if I had the money to restore one, I would love to get a 76 or a 77. I remember years ago when I was driving across country, I ran across this, I'm going to say a graveyard for Cutlass. And they had just about any type of Cutlass you wanted, the 76, 77, some 80s. And it was like this huge lot that just had nothing but Cutlass on it. And I'm like, okay. And whenever I pass by it, I'm always looking. They always had them. I was like, man, one day I'm going to stop and find out how much they want for those cars. I used to call it the Cutlass graveyard. And apparently they drove because he didn't keep them in. And they looked good. They wasn't nothing spectacular about them. But from what I could see from the road, they appears to be in pretty good shape, and they appear to be that they did run. Um, so that's would be a dream car, to get a 76 or a 77 Cutlass and get it refurbished, which I've had both years before. At 76, I was young and dumb, didn't realize what I had, and car started having a little problem. Now, I should have kept the car. Tell you why. I should have kept it. One year, uh, got real cold here in Dallas, and I had a water hose that busted the night before. And it was late when they did it, and there was no auto shop close by where I live that was open that late. So what I did, I take the yeah, duct tape do work. Put some duct tape on that water hose and put some water in there. I didn't have any antifreeze. Just put water in there to make it home. Get up the next morning. Yeah, that motor was frozen. And I'm like, okay. And it stayed frozen for about 3 days. Then finally went out there to crank it up. I would try every day. It never would crank because it was frozen. And finally, when it did crank up, it ran like a champ. Of course, I went right on to get me some antifreeze and put up in that car. So that was the 77. Then I used to have that was the 76. I used to have a 77 Cutlass. Hold on. My 76 Cutlass. I never did get it painted because it was prime when I got it. So I just kept the car prime and painted the grills black and the rims. One of my friends actually, Donnie, actually had a 80. I want to say it was an 85 model Cutlass, and he took the original rims off of it and put some mag ribs on there. So he was like, "Hey man, I got these rims. What we could do is paint them maroon, put them on your car, got leather tires on them." So we did that, and that car rolled good. Had tinted windows and everything. I was like, all right. Of course, I got stopped all the time in it, but I guess I should have had some fuzzy dice in it. But that was a good car, the 77. Then the 76, then the 77. It had a station wagon motor in it, and that thing can pick and get up and go. So it was really good. And I think something happened to that car. When I was young, I'm like, look, something happened to a car, I'm getting rid of it. I didn't have time to fix it. I'm gonna just get rid of it. But in that 76, I seen the guy that actually purchased that car once I sold it. And I stopped. I said, man, that was my car. He said, man, this car is good. Thank you for getting rid of it. I said, you don't want to sell it? I sure don't. He said, I do not want to sell it. Radio said he would like a gremlin. Ooh, yeah, that's an old school car right there. Um, you never see motorcycle with a sidecar anymore either. Um, I've seen one here in Texas. I've seen one, but of course it was one of those updated ones. I personally wouldn't feel comfortable sitting on the side, having the thing riding in one of those sidecars. I personally would not feel comfortable with that. Um, for the simple fact, people drive bad in Texas, so I wouldn't do it. I had a Nova 250 for my first car. um, uh, ex of mine had a Nova. Um, yeah, they had a Nova too. When we first met, they drove a low Nova. You got to get in where you fit in. You got to, whatever you can afford to live within your means, you have to stay within your means. Don't be trying to purchase a car and you struggling to pay your rent. And you shouldn't be going out buying these high name cars and you living in an apartment complex. You got to get your priority right. Um, get purchase a home. because I know people that have certain type of cars, and it's like every other day they going back and forth to the shop, to the shade tree mechanic. And I'm like, that's part of your problem right there. If you're gonna purchase these type of cars, get it done right. Make sure you letting people work on it that know exactly what they're doing. But a lot of time it's too expensive for certain cars. The maintenance kill you. The maintenance and the insurance. And then you still, if you don't pay cash for it, you still have a note on it. So the maintenance and the insurance would take you out. And so yeah, that's I don't know if I kind of I kind of think my wife had asked me. She was like, "Hey, baby, your truck, your vehicle, you know, um, what type of car would you want to get next?" I said, "I don't know." And she know a car that I would like to get. It's a I don't want to promote them, but it's a nice car. One of my friends have one, and I'm like, I like that. And then I started looking into it. I'm like, ooh, that maintenance higher than the notes. I don't think I like that car that much. So you got to calculate all of that because in the dealerships, the dealership ain't no joke. They're gonna come in. They're gonna say, "Hey, this is what it's gonna cost you if you want one of our cars. We're gonna charge you this amount, and you're gonna pay this amount, and that maintenance is gonna bite you." And the hyper cars, they okay, but those maintenance, I was like, ooh, yeah. But anyway, the dealership cartel, that's all they are. They are gangsters. Um, there was one story I was going to hit on when I talked about Greg, and I'm going to see if I can bring it up, if I can put it up on my computer. And because I think it's important. Um, the things that Greg is trying to do, let me see if this is going to work or not. I don't know why it won't. See if it, I guess it's not going to work. Uh, Let me see if I can put a story up. We'll talk about this real quick. But along with Greg, he's also um, trying to expand the restriction on racism education in public schools. We know he don't want the history taught, but now he's trying to um, prevent them from talking about it. Now, this came out um, since we're talking about race. Um, da, da, da. I'm looking at so many different ones, different stories right now. But the one that stood out to me, this came out earlier, and I don't know, man. Yeah, let me go. I'm gonna have to read it from my phone. From the Huff um, Post, they actually said Texas Senate bill dropped teaching requirement that uh, Ku Klux Klan is morally wrong. Eliminate requirement also include the writing of Martin Luther King Jr., United Farm Workers, leaders Cesar Chavez, and Susan B. Anthony. In a new political law in Texas, the Republican uh, dominate state Senate has passed a bill to eliminate a requirement that public schools teach that the Ku Klux Klan and its white supremacy campaign of terror are morally wrong. The cut is among some 2 dozen curriculum requirement dropped from the new measure, along with studying Martin Luther King Jr. I Have a Dream speech, the work of United Farm Worker, Cesar Chavez, Susan B. Anthony writing about the women's movement and Native American history. So the Senate Bill 3 passed last Friday, 18-4, dropped most mentioned people of color and women from the state required. Um, um, that included eliminating the requirement that students be taught the history of white supremacy, including but not limited to the institution of slavery, the KKK, and the ways in which it was morally wrong. Now, one story that I talked about that I read earlier, it also talked about that they want to portray that the Ku Klux Klan was good people. That's what they want to do. But that's why we need to get rid of Greg. He's doing voter suppression, which that need to be put in a history book, what he's trying to do. We need to also put in the history book how a sitting attorney general get these charges brought up against him and get reelected and have more charges brought up against him. And they don't see nothing wrong about it. And then let's add in a history book how we had a clown in the administration. The president lied to us about this pandemic. Not only about the pandemic, but basically stormed the Capitol. All of that need to be in a history book. But at the same time, they don't want to talk about that. They don't want to talk about the true history of America. And what we have to do as people, we have to teach our kids, our children, the true history of America. Because if not, once we're gone, it's gone. And while Greg Abbott is signing these laws, but still, you haven't addressed this pandemic, how our numbers are going up. You haven't addressed that yet. But you feel like you're doing everything right because you pleasing 1% of the population of Texas. I'm saying 1% because you pleasing the ones that's supporting your campaign. Then you have the other percent that don't support you but pay attention to everything you do because you support that clown that we had as president. And that's a problem. People, we need to wake up and think for ourselves. Think for ourselves. Do your research, do your homework. We need to make a step next year. Make sure we clean everybody who's up for re-election. Clean that house out and do something different. Because here it is. He signed the laws that your kids did not have to didn't have to wear a mask at school. That's what he signed, putting you and your kids at risk. He don't want to face the fact that the pandemic is worse than what it was before. Don't want to face that. Don't want to talk about how people that have been vaccinated, some are still getting the pandemic. I even talked with I had texted a friend yesterday. They text and said, "Hey, keep my son in your prayers." For the simple fact, he been vaccinated, but he's now laying up in the hospital, sick with the Delta variant, throwing up, high fever. But this piece of a government that we have do not want to talk about it. That's a problem. That's a problem. You want to talk about the border. You want to talk about the Democrats that went to Washington to try to prevent this racist bill that you want to pass to do voter suppression. That's all you want to talk about. Come out and talk about the truth. How the numbers are going up here in Texas. Let's talk about that. But you don't want to talk about that. That's not pleasing for the ones that support you. Because what happened is you're scared they're not going to donate to you. They're not going to donate to you. No, when I started the show last year, I used to report on all the cases as the numbers goes up. Now, yesterday, I said it's running a day behind. Yesterday, I said on the 18th, they reported 1,746 new cases, with an average of 3,002 cases a day. That's just Texas. So and then they reported for yesterday case 2,553 new cases. Average in the 7-day average 3,295. But he want to talk about the wall. Admit that you was a fool and made a mistake by trying to rush and open everything back up. This is on your watch. This is on your watch. That's why so many people is running against you. That's why so many people want you out of office. Because of the decisions that you have made this last year and a half. and the ones that you made before then. So, Greg Abbott, it's time for you to leave out. It's time for you to go. So, yeah, welcome to the show, T. Cal. I know it's Tuesday. You normally working. Hey, Kurt, though, so glad I didn't miss you. It's crazy in here. I understand. Um, school, back to school is about to happen. So retail is crazy. Radio Chaos said, why can Abbott dictate what they teach in school? Isn't that the school board and trustees are for? Yeah, it should be. But also next year, the Board of Education is up for reelection. So we need to send them a message too and let them know it's time for them to go too. It's time for them to go also. It's definitely time. Marcella said, I just read something that was very profound. Imagine if the 1% gave 10%. Mm, that's too much like right. That's too much like right. T Cal said, I caught that rule. Yeah. Um, that's too much like right, Marcellus. Because if you look at it, and I know you're a Bible reading man, it a lot of people like to quote um, how it goes. They like to quote, stay away from the love of money. It's the root to all evil. But they don't want to read before there when the Lord say, be happy with what you have. I will provide all your needs. See, they don't want to talk about that part. You gotta read the whole scripture, not just bits and pieces. Read it all. Yeah, I guess this just came across. Let me see what this about, because um, try to pull it up. Hoping it's not a video. Um, yeah, but definitely. Okay. Um, I'm glancing over this before I say it. Uh, trying to make sure. So basically, um, so I guess Wisconsin have been it's a battleground where they actually a lot of people have voted twice, and they saying this just came across um, on my phone. A Wisconsin man who cast two absentee ballots in the 2020 presidential election has been charged with four felonies, making him the second person in the battleground state to face charges stemming from the election. Former President Donald Trump has wrongly claimed there was widespread fraud in Wisconsin, a state that President Joe Biden won by just under 21,000 votes. Charges of election fraud are exceedingly rare in Wisconsin. but there typically are a handful after every major election. The crime of election fraud is a felony. The latest charges filed in June came in one of the 27 cases referred by Wisconsin election official to prosecute out of out of a out of more than 3 million ballot cast. No other charges have been brought from that group, and district attorney have said they are not pursuing charges in 18 of those cases. The other 8 are either still under review or the district attorney did not provide an update Monday. So if you voted twice in that 2020 election, they coming for you. And not only that, you're gonna get caught. Hold them accountable. And from what I'm reading, it sounded like they was all for Trump. Sound like they was for Trump. And if that's the case, I guess it was fraud going on for Trump. The same person that told people you should vote twice. You should vote twice. But hey, I appreciate y'all for tuning in tonight. Tomorrow night, uh, we will be back tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Central Time. TCAT, you be safe at work. We will be back tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Central Time, if the good Lord say the same. Also, you can always tune in, also watch the replays at a later time on YouTube. So thank you everyone for tuning in. Your comments, TCal, Marcellus, Radio Chaos, and everyone that was just sitting back in the cut watching. We don't bite. You can always tune in and be a part of the show. So thank y'all for tuning in. I love each and every one of you. Until tomorrow night, if the good Lord say the same. Peace.